All right, pretty good one there. Let's see if that will spin. There we go, spun it back a little bit. That's one of the most fun shots in golf. You hit that shot that comes in there nice and low, checks up, you see it spin back on the green. How in the heck did the pros make it look so easy, and how can we do the same thing ourselves? I want to give you the real secrets to creating tons of backspin in this video. Now, first let's talk about the myth of shaft lean, or the myth of lack of shaft lean. A lot of times when people are saying, I want to hit a spin shot, there's two different ones that they're talking about. Now this one here is a 50-yard low launching spin shot. Now when I hit this one, a lot of people will say, well, I want to create a lot of loft, that way it gets backspin on it. So I'm going to go ahead and release the club shaft. I want the club shaft to be straight up and down. That is a complete myth. When you're 40, 50, 60, anything outside of 40 yards, you're creating quite a bit of shaft lean. Your hands are in front on these shots. And what we found through tons of people have had lots of research with the pro players using machines like this $18,000 GC quad that I have here, and it tells me exactly how much loft I have on it. What I found is that you want to have about mid-40s to slightly higher 40s loft when you're hitting these shots. Now this is a 60-degree wedge, so if you take this little trailer hitch marker here, and I put that on that club, that would be the direction my face is pointing when the shaft is straight up and down. Mid-40s means I'm going to take 15 degrees off of that. I'm going to have this shaft leaning forward, de-lofting that club quite a bit when I'm doing this. That allows me to get more consistent contact. You see, if you get too much loft on it, the ball is going to slide up the face. Imagine like a flop shot. So if I was going to hit a flop shot here with this face just straight up and down toward the sky, that ball would launch high, but it wouldn't have much spin. It's almost like a knuckleball. That's because the club is just sliding right underneath the ball, and it goes up in the air, but doesn't have much backspin on it. If I want to get the backspin, I have to have my hands leaning in front a little bit. Now the second thing with the hands leaning in front is it gives you a lot more consistency. So here, I've got my 60-degree wedge. I'm going to have the hands quite in front, maybe 15 degrees, and we'll see how much spin we can get on it. Now anything over 7,000 RPMs on a 50-yard shot is pretty daggone good. So we'll see if we can get over that 7,000 RPMs. That one's going to be pretty good. Thought that one nipped it pretty nice, just past the hole, and we saw that one checked up right away. Now 47 degrees aloft, that means I had 13 degrees of shaft lean right where we wanted to be. Maybe just a touch too thin on the face because I got 6,700 RPMs of backspin. So not bad. We can see that it checked up on the green, but we might be able to do a little bit better than that. Now the next thing that we want to do is we don't want to feel like we're slow through contact. This is an aggressive shot. I have to get the speed coming through the shot to get the spin on there. That's one of the reasons that I'm using this 60-degree wedge. If I use a 60, like a lot of the pros are doing, if I really accelerate, I'm going to have a lot of shaft lean naturally, and I'm going to get about the perfect amount of loft on there. Now if I use a 56-degree wedge or a pitching wedge even, I would start off with less loft, which would get me about the right amount of loft. But then if I went ahead and accelerated and got really aggressive and got my hands in front so I could be consistent, I would have too much loft, too little loft in, sorry. So we start out with a 60. We're nice and aggressive through the shot. The second thing I want to think about, I like to play this shot with a slightly open face until I get out around 60, 70 yards. So that face is just going to be turned open just a few degrees to help engage the bounce there. And that just helps me to keep from digging on this. Gives me a little more room for error. Now I'm going to set my feet a little bit forward. I want to have it, this would be square. I'm going to go ahead and put my feet slightly angled forward like this, especially my front foot. That really helps me to rotate through the shot better and to get a lot more action on it, get a lot of zip on it. You'll see a lot of pros set up like this on those 40, 50-yard shots. Again, as I go longer, I may set up a little bit more square. Let's try this one out. That one may be a touch short, but overall a pretty good shot. We see that one start to spin back a little bit. Again, 47 degrees aloft, got the good number there. My backspin was 8,000 on that one, so I caught it just a hair better. That's about as high as I'm going to get on one of these shots. Now, there's a couple more myths on creating spin. You don't really create backspin by having that shot go high. When I see this shot 40, 50, 60 yards, I want that thing to launch really low. In fact, I like my launch angle to be under 30 degrees. That one was 27.6 degrees. That looks to your eye, you don't have to do all these numbers to know that, but that looks to most people's eye to be really low. The reason it's coming out low is because there's a lot of friction. So when I'm catching this ball, if I want to have a lot of spin, one of the reasons I have that shaft lean forward too is that I want to catch this ball kind of low on the face. If I have the handle leaning straight up and down, that's actually going to pull this leading edge up off the turf. So when I have the shaft leaning back, now my leading edge is pulled up off the ground, and it's really easy to thin shots if you start doing that. As I lean the handle forward, now it starts to pull that leading edge closer to the turf, and I can hit it lower on the golf ball. So the key with spin is I can't have any debris, any water, any turf, anything get between my perfectly clean enough to eat off of it face of my wedge and a perfectly dry, clean golf ball. It has, both surfaces have to be really dry and clean to get that zip on there. If I hit it slightly lower on the face, that's going to help it to launch a little lower. It's also going to help to make sure nothing gets between the golf ball and the face. So I like to think just slightly low on the face, that's the best spot to hit it, maybe a millimeter lower than normal. If you're looking down and you see a little spot on your wedge where there's grass stuck to it, it's not going to spin. The stuff that's inside the grass, all that oily, grease, water, whatever's inside a blade of grass, causes it to slip up the face rather than really grab there. So again, this one I want to visualize it launching pretty low. That comes from me getting good friction on a nice clean strike low on the face. It also comes from me leaning that shaft forward. Let's go ahead and hit one more here. There we go, maybe a little out to the right. That's pretty good. And that one spun back a little bit too. So on there, that shot, 46 degrees loft, again, perfect, 7,500 RPMs of backspin, again, right where I want to be. Now, let's be honest, that leaves you with a problem. How do I know if I'm hitting it 50 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards? How do I know if I'm getting it to stop right at the correct distance? How do the pros seem to be able to hit it right on the number? Well, I like to use a system that I call a clock system, but there's a specific way you do this. It's not about necessarily where you stop your hands for each distance of shot, but it's also about a specific rhythm and a specific timing that you use. If you don't get that timing right, you're not going to be able to hit it right on your numbers. I've got an awesome video that's going to walk you right through this. I'll play a preview of it here in a second. All you need to do is go ahead and click the card that pops up on the screen. And if you don't see that card, don't worry, just go down to the description below, click the link there, and you'll also get instant access. I'm going to walk you through the timing, the rhythm, and the technique of that clock swing. That way we can hit these spinning shots, but we can get them to land right on the number that we want so we have some nice, really short putts. Let's go and get started. Well, I used to actually practice a lot in high school. This is one of my favorite things to do. I had a strip mowed down the back of my yard where I took the lawnmower. My parents probably hated this because I mowed it down to like half-inch turf in the back of the yard because we lived on a farm. And I would set buckets or towels along this, and I would try to set them at those distances that I knew. And maybe I knew my 56 degree went right at 65 yards. I'd set a bucket 65 yards away, and I would go ahead and do my 9 o'clock swing, and I would try to fly it right into the bucket. And I'd get to where I could tell for sure if I was going to be a couple yards short or a couple yards long, just because it gets so ingrained when you get the rhythm and the finish the same every time. We can use different length backswings to control the distance of our wedge shots. So for example, if we imagine that I'm a clock and 6 o'clock is directly down, my wedge would be at 6 o'clock, or my arms would be at 6 o'clock, I can go back to a 7:30 swing and I can have the same finish and hit at a certain distance, or I can go back to 9 or 10:30 and swing through to the same distance, and that's going to control, or the same finish point, and that's going to control the distance that my wedge shots are going to fly in the air. And I've got to keep that rhythm and that tempo very, very consistent. If I vary my tempos, I can hit at all kinds of different distances. So for example, I could have a real quick tempo 7:30 swing and probably hit this 90 yards. I could have a, maybe not really that far, probably 50 or 60 yards. I could have a very slow tempo 7:30 swing and hit half that distance. So I've got to get my distance the same. I've got to get my rhythm the same. That's the real key to it. And the second piece on there